Welcome to rSlash Am I the Butthole? Where a total jerk gets what's coming to him. Our first Reddit post is from Throw It Away. My girlfriend invited me to meet up with some other members from her department. Her department is almost all men. I've met a few of them, but hadn't met everyone that was coming out. I knew that one guy in the department hung around with everyone else. Small department, so everyone hangs out together. And he made my girlfriend really uncomfortable with making sexual comments about her and getting a little too close for comfort. But she didn't want to make a scene about it because she just finished her first year and he's almost done with his PhD and is a big deal in the department. I was a little late getting over there, but when I got there, I could tell immediately which guy it was. I later found out that my girlfriend had been saving me a seat, but he had taken it and refused to move. He had his arm on the back of her chair and his body was turned towards her and was touching her knee with his other hand. My girlfriend was leaning so far away from him that she was basically in the seat of the guy on her other side. Everyone looked uncomfortable except for this one guy. I knew she wouldn't want me to make a scene and call him out, again because of blowback on her. I sat down on his other side and introduced myself. He kept making comments and touching my girlfriend's leg while I was sitting right there. And at one point, he turned his back to me and totally boxed me out. My girlfriend kept taking his hand off her knee and he kept putting it back. So I decided to start mirroring his actions. I put my arm around him and started rubbing his shoulder and whispering to him. He pushed my hand away and I put it right back. It took about 30 seconds for him to jump up and yell, "I'm not gay," and then he stormed out of the bar. The other guys in the department laughed about it and spent some time talking about how creepy he was. But my girlfriend later told me that she thinks I took it a bit too far and she could have just kept putting up with it. Am I a butthole for being creepy to this guy who was touching my girlfriend? No, OP. This is a classic case of you giving a harasser a taste of his own medicine. I give you 0 out of 5 buttholes, and I give the dude who was harassing your girlfriend 4 out of 5 buttholes. Our next Reddit post is from RustedCornHole. Reddit, will I be the butthole if I give the restaurant the name and phone number of my Tinder date who literally just got up and left after the meal when it came up that we should split the check? I'm sitting here now trying to decide what to do. She and I never discussed this dinner being my treat, and this is the place she suggested. I have half a mind to separate the checks, pay mine, and leave her info on her check for the restaurant to sort out. Technically, she dined and dashed. I'm going to preemptively tell you now, this wasn't because I tried to get laid by just buying dinner and I'm not a creep. Edit, in our conversations, I suggested coffee for our first meetup, for those wondering. Update, sweet karmic justice. Upon moving to the bar and talking to the bartender, I found out that this girl had an open tab before I arrived. She left her driver's license at the bar. According to the bartender, she's a sucky tipper and she's probably next door trying to get free drinks at the pool hall. Since her tab was open and she's probably coming back anyway, he agreed to move her food items over to her tab. He said, "F it, it's not like she's gonna tip me anyways." Well, problem solved, OP, and to be honest, it sounds like you dodged a bullet on this one. Our next Reddit post is from tinanottiana. I moved from Georgia to the Pacific Northwest last year for a dream job after I graduated college. It was a little bit of a culture shock because I went from being one of many black people around at any given time to often being the only non-white person in a room, let alone black person. There hasn't been a lot of overt racism, but there's been a lot of strange borderline situations that are amusing and race-related but not necessarily racist. For example, every white woman I meet mentions Beyonce to me within the first 5 minutes. When I was sitting for my driver's license photo, the woman taking my picture opened with, "So, Beyonce." So the problem in the post title is that I am the only black woman at my office, and I am constantly being called the wrong name at work. and I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary. My name is Tina, short for Christina, pronounced just like it looks, very easy name. For some reason, a handful of people at work call me Tiana, Tiara, or Tia. I think, assuming that my name has to be more black sounding than it is, I'm most often called Tiana, especially by one of the guys on our development team and by the big boss for another team, which I think then confuses their team members back into calling me the wrong name again. The other thing is that apparently another black woman, elderly, not in the same position I'm in, used to work there, and I get called her name Mary sometimes too. Sometimes people will look at my nameplate and ask me, "How do you pronounce that?" It's Tina. I have tried politely correcting this and corrected immediately every time. From polite, just for the record, my name is Tina, to lighthearted Tina, like Tina Belcher. In emails from me that say Tina in a million places, including my email address, I still get, "Thanks, Tiana." So I'm considering doing the Twitter approach, where I just respond to coworkers who call me the wrong name with the wrong name. Like, if Chuck says, "Thanks, Tiana," I say, "No problem, Chad." And if Jessica says, "Hi, Tiara," I say, "Good morning, Jennifer." Would I be the butthole if I did this? I know it's passive aggressive, but every form of polite correction hasn't worked. And I feel really disrespected by this, so I may as well have some fun with it. OP, I love this plan. 0 out of 5 buttholes. Though I strongly recommend you call every guy Kevin and every woman Karen. Our next Reddit post is from Waltzing Away 78. I've been a single mom to 2 kids since they were 6 and 4. Their dad passed away. Around that time, my son was formally diagnosed as autistic. He's not very verbal and prone to physical outbursts when he has a meltdown. He's been in therapies of every kind for his entire life, and it's helped somewhat. Their dad had a life insurance policy, which allowed me to stay home as my son's main caregiver while working freelance. But money was tight, and finding anyone capable of watching him has always been a challenge. My daughter was graduating from college last year. A week before the ceremony, she had an award ceremony for academic achievement. I was obviously incredibly proud of her. She asked me to come to it, and I said I would. Her college is 2 hours from here. I hired a trained sitter who specializes in autism the day of the ceremony. Right as I was about to leave, my son had a meltdown and was lashing out at the sitter. I couldn't leave, and he wasn't calm for hours. I left my daughter a voicemail saying I wasn't going to be able to make it. She called back that night absolutely livid. She called me a sucky mother, said I had 2 kids but only cared about one, that I'd missed every game and performance she'd had as a child, and that it clearly wasn't going to change as adults, and that she was just done. She says she knows he can't help it, but her brother isn't capable of showing empathy, and it made it hard to be around him without resenting him. She hung up, and that was it. I've barely spoken with her since. She didn't send tickets for the graduation we were supposed to go to next week. She hasn't shown up for holidays, and I've heard she's engaged but didn't call to tell me. She's cut us out, and in the 1 of 3 times we've spoken since, she said it's easier for her to not have us around than to be disappointed, and that being alone at events is nothing new for her. She just doesn't have to bother getting her hopes up that I might come now. Am I the butthole? I've offered family counseling and all other manner of things. I know I wasn't a perfect mom growing up. I didn't make it to her things, but not for lack of caring. I'm heartbroken, but I don't think me not showing up in an emergency should have lost me my daughter forever. OP, you are definitely the butthole in this situation. You're not losing your daughter because of one emergency. You're losing your daughter because you've consistently ignored her throughout her entire childhood. To be honest, Vanix down in the comments took the words right out of my mouth. You're the butthole, but you only have so much of a choice to be. You've missed every performance, game, and ceremony. You hired a trained sitter for this event, but didn't trust them enough and stayed yourself. Your daughter has it hard enough not having her dad come to any of her events, but she never had a mom there either. It sounds like she's always been secondhand to her brother, which is incredibly understanding at times. But you haven't made much effort to find someone who could at least handle him for one night. She's your kid too. She still needs her mom at these events. She still needs her mom to show her support, not just tell her. Also, this wasn't the first time you didn't show up. She cut you off because you never showed up. You can only expect her to go through that disappointment so many times. Our next Reddit post is from pizzadrama. First up, I love my wife very, very, very much. But man, does she drive me crazy sometimes. I'm a big dude, I'm 6'4", and I'm always freaking hungry. I'm a firefighter, so I'm always on my feet, and simply put, I just love food. My wife always eats stuff like salads and nuts, but she will always help herself to some of my food, which pisses me off because it's just the right amount of food that I want to eat, but she'll go ahead and take some. I've asked her so many times to leave my food alone, and she'll get really defensive and say, "It's just a little, babe, you'll be fine." Except I'm not fine, I'm hungry. And then when I'm hungry, I get hangry, and I snap at everyone cause I'm god dang hungry. Things came to a head at our kid's 3rd birthday party. Wife said no to cake, despite me bringing over a slice to her. So I gave that slice to my cousin's kid who was on his 2nd slice. My girl ended up eating the whole slice while I held the freaking plate, and then when I went to get myself some, all the cake had been finished. Lately, my mother-in-law gave me the idea to just spice my food to stop my wife from taking mine, since she can't stand spicy food. I tried that yesterday. I ordered pizza and asked my wife if she wanted one. She said no. I went ahead and got pepperoni and jalapenos. And predictably, when it came, she came over and got all mad because it was spicy and she couldn't eat it. I told her I had to take drastic measures because I'm fed up of sharing my food, and she called me a selfish butthole. So who's the butthole here? OP, you are 100% not the butthole. Every person on earth has a sacred right to defend whatever is on their plate. Food can be offered, but not taken. That's going way too far. 0 out of 5 buttholes. Our next Reddit post is from F That Dead Guy. Married 15 years ago and almost didn't make it this far. In our 2nd year of marriage, my wife went home when I was deployed and slept with some dickhead, who I'll refer to as dickhead from here out, who she was loose acquaintances with growing up. She hadn't seen him in years, but he just happened to show up during my daughter's birthday party because he was the son of one of my mother-in-law's old friends. Dickhead and my wife hooked up later that week after reconnecting. The reason I didn't kick my wife's butt to the curb and eventually forgave her is because she told me herself soon after I got home. And she didn't try to justify it with the, "Oh, well, you were gone. I felt lonely, blah, blah, blah." No, she actually said straight up that she was passionately hugging this moron. Her words, not mine, though I agree. And she felt so sick and disgusting for doing it. She immediately cut off all contact with Dickhead, and it took a lot of counseling and healing, but here we are today. Feels like non-stop since that time that my wife has gone above and beyond, proving that I was right to keep her. Well, my mother-in-law called yesterday, and she learned from Dickhead's mother that Dickhead died in some workplace accident, and they're having a funeral service this weekend. My wife told me this and that she wanted to go, and it was like I got kicked right in the dick. I instantly felt nauseous and had effing horrible flashbacks of when she told me about her affair. All these horrible feelings resurfaced along with the sucky memories of me crying my effing eyes out and my image of her shattering. The pain felt as fresh as when she dropped that bomb on me. I asked her why, seeing as she hadn't talked to the guy in over a decade, not to mention, She passionately hugged him while we were married. She keeps saying stuff like, it's the right thing to do, and she just wants to pay respects. I can't stop repeating that I'm so hurt with that decision, as he's had no part in her life in so long, and I'm reliving all those sucky nights I was sure our family would be shattered, and I would only see my daughter 50% of the time. After some back and forth, I put my effing foot down and told her no, she cannot go. I said it's so disrespectful to me and our marriage, and we've been on silent treatment since then. Am I the butthole? No, OP, you are not the butthole. I'm giving you 0 out of 5 right off the bat. Your wife says it's the right thing to do. No, the right thing to do is to honor her marriage. And she just wants to pay respects. By disrespecting you and your marriage? No, man. Your wife has a full-blown 5 out of 5 buttholes. That was rSlash AmITheButthole. And the last time I covered this topic, a lot of people suggested that I put polls in the upper right-hand corner of the video so people can vote as to whether or not the person is the butthole. So here's to hoping that I remembered to do that when I set up this video.